their name is Tenders.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and good morning to the presentation. Yes, to the presentation of the both of us, me and Mr. Ahmed, with the instruction of Dr. Hamid, that will talk about pragmatics. We will give you the headlines, the main branches of pragmatics. We will give you the concepts, and we will work less on slides and more on minds. So, pragmatics. I want anyone to give me a brief note about pragmatics. What is pragmatics? Anyone know?
The study of the context, the meaning of the context.
Okay, study the meaning according to context.
You can say pragmatics is a branch of linguistics that deals with the language used.
Okay, branch of linguistics that deals with languages. We will find out if this is true or not. The outline of the presentation, it will contain definitions and background, Deixis and distance, reference and inference, presupposition and entailment, cooperation and lecture, speech, acts and events, politeness and interaction, and finally we will give you a conclusion of all what we have said. We will start, inshallah, with definitions and background by Ahmed, and Ahmed will give us the definitions and background about pragmatics.
Hello everybody, my name is Ahmed and I'm going right away to the next slide. Just pragmatics. What is pragmatics? So, basically pragmatics deals with four main areas. So, it's explained to four different definitions. So start with the first one, the first definition, the study of speaker meaning. So what does that mean? So I'm dealing with meaning as communicated by the speaker. What the speaker wants to convey, to send to the listener, and how the listener interprets or translate that. So that's the first definition, the first area. So dealing with the context as sent by the listener, the speaker, and received by the listener. The second area right there is the contextual meaning. Here we're talking about context. So people use different contexts in different situations, and the context influences what we say and influences our message, and that's used crucially with pragmatics. So the speaker probably organizes what to say, what to send in accordance with whom to, where and when, and all of those aspects. So he chooses the context, chooses where to tell and what to send. And this is the second area. The next one is talking more about more gets communicated more than it's said. So this word is about more in meaning. So just going behind the lines, between the lines, it's more than what's said. So the listener is going to use his prior knowledge, trying to arrive at an interpretation of what the speaker wants to send. So he uses some knowledge according to context, according to what's inside the sentence, to arrive at the interpretation what the speaker wants to convey, wants to send. So he doesn't have to say more, so maybe a word is enough sometimes, and that will give you, because you have some knowledge, you use your prior knowledge to understand what the speaker would like to convey, send. So what I didn't say maybe in a sentence is a part of communication in a way. So maybe I didn't say much, but because the listener have some knowledge, prior knowledge about the subject, they would know, they can translate, understand between the lines. So I say this, but we understand more because we share some. The message is there, okay? The message is there for sure. The last area, I believe, the expression of relative distance. Okay, so this depends more on the, the distance and the closeness of the speaker and the listener. So maybe different factors will interfere in here. Maybe talking about physical or sexual, maybe social kind of distance, psychological maybe. So all of that is imply different meanings. So the speaker would choose what to say in accordance with all of that. To whom, to where, with the place, the situation, all of these things plays a kind of crucial role there. Yeah. Okay. So just to sum up all of that, I can say pragmatics studies how people make sense of each other linguistically. So have a look at this example. So, did you? And the other person would say, hey, who wouldn't? So just as an explanation of this short conversation, two friends are talking about something, both know. You both know what they're talking about. The pragmatic, they are connected, the message is there. But maybe a stranger wouldn't understand what's going on.
Yeah, because they don't have the prior knowledge for what they are.
Yeah, for sure. So both of them share, they have something we call shared experience, shared knowledge. Okay, you don't have to say much. Another example maybe, which is a kind of way. So me and Mustafa maybe got your chocolate in my bag. So me and Mustafa would understand what we're talking about. Okay?
It's not a chocolate.
Are we there, Mustafa?
Yeah.
All right, done. So because me and Mustafa would share something, we know what we're talking about. So but others maybe will say something rather strange. What chocolate they're talking about. Probably yes. Okay. Okay. So just I'm talking about subfields of linguistics. So my colleagues previously talked about semantics. And we can see it's a little bit difficult to read. But talking about the different subfields of linguistics, we can see that there's a thin line connecting all of these subfields together. And yeah, maybe talking about phonetics deals with sounds, speech sounds. Phonology with motifs, morphology maybe with words, syntax with phrases, sentences, semantics deals with meaning, and pragmatics deals with all of that in context, in reality. So I can say that maybe pragmatics is the core of all of that. So it covers all of these aspects altogether. Okay, they are all of them are connected to each other, in a way or another. Okay, next slide. So we're dealing with lots of terminology, lots of concepts in this presentation. Regularity. So what's regularity? Regularity arises from the fact that people are members of social groups and follow general patterns of behavior expected from within the group. So it is a use of regular patterns of language. Well, let's consider the example. Have a look, please. I found an old bike. The chain was rusted and the tire is flat. This is good enough. Everybody can understand, yeah?
Yes.
Now, if we go to the second example, I found a bike. A bike has a chain is rusted. Bike also has tires. Tires were flat. Lots of explanation, lots of information. Okay, so in the second example, lots of information is given, and probably are unnecessary.
Yes.
So because we share some kind with something we call, we are from the same social group. So if I would say, Johr Ali,
Alhamdulillah, ماشي.
lovely, because we share the same kind of social group. So if I ask a question, he would respond as expected from a member from the same social group. So next example, I went to Britain, my first visit to Britain, I was doing some shopping with my friend. And I remember walking to one of those shops and a lady came along and asked, "Are you okay?" And I answered, I'm okay, thanks. No problems. She smiled and went back. So my friend told me she's not asking about your physical health. She's asking if you needed any help and you may be looking for something special. About 5 years later, I had another visit to Britain, especially in Manchester, and it took me about a couple of days to understand that people in Manchester, they say, "You're Ray," to say, "How are you?" So they're not asking about your physical health. You're just saying, "How are you?" So just say, "You're right." And that's the end of my part here. I'll hand you over to my colleague Johar.
Okie dokie. In the second slide here, we have Deixis. Have you ever heard about Deixis? Raise your hand. Okay, small number of you. Deixis. What is Deixis? Deixis is a Greek term that means pointing with words, through words. So the didactic elements are the words that we use to refer or to point using language.
Yes.
For example, let's look at the example that I've written here. He'll go with him there that day. So he and him and there and that day all refer to a specific thing. So how can we differentiate between the different kinds of didactic elements? Didactic elements, as I said, are the terms that we use to refer to something using language. And they are also called indexicals. We must also know that the speaker and the hearer must share the same context. So they must share prior knowledge, they must share the same context. Yes, indeed.
The location.
Yes, the location, the time, the prior knowledge, all of that are under or underlying the context. Didactic elements or indexicals have three main categories, which are personal, which are mostly pronouns, like he in the previous example, and spatial. Spatial, that is about a specific place. The third one is temporal. Temporal is about time. So there are three main types of didactic elements: spatial, temporal, and personal. Yes. There are two other types. If we look to the didactic elements from another perspective, the perspective of distance. Are they close or away? Are they proximate or distant? We will have two types. The proximal one, which are near speaker, and if I said I, is it near or away? I, near. And he will be away. So, the Deixis from the perspective of distance have two main types. If we look at this graph here, we have something in the middle that is called didactic center. Didactic center, we have I, here, and now. I is personal or temporal or spatial?
Personal.
Personal, yes, exactly. And here?
Place.
Place. Spatial. And now? Temporal. It's about time. So it's the proximate one, the ones in the didactic center. Yes, and away from the speaker is called distal. Distal, okay, let's look at the examples on the left side. Bring this here and now. All of those didactic elements or indexicals are proximate, near the speaker, while distal, then put that there. Then put that and there. They are all away from the speaker. So, yes, Mustafa?
Why don't we add demonstrative adjectives such as this and that to Deixis?
Those examples are not the only ones. You can add whatever fits those descriptions, you know? They are indefinite. And you will find more and more examples in the next slides. So, let's look at this small exercise. And you, Mustafa, would you please identify the didactic elements in this conversation, and you can use the laser. So what are the didactic elements here?
You.
You, exactly. What kind of didactic elements is this? Person. Yes, and is it proximal or distal? Near or away?
Yes.
Near or away?
Near.
Second person.
It's second person. So no, it's not near. The only one that we can say it's near, it's I or we. So it's for the first person.
You.
Yes, but you is away from you. It's not inside you. It's not in the same place of you. So it's you. It's away from the speaker. Okay, complete.
And I think this.
This, yes, exactly. Yeah, it's a didactic element. And the second phrase.
What about this?
This.
Near or far?
Here, this is
Near.
This. Yes. Yeah.
Now, if this is near, sometimes when I say this, it's not close to me that much. I can say you for someone who's really close to me. The same with this. Now, what do I say? This bag or that bag?
This one. This.
If someone is just exactly the same with this bag here, I would say you now. Near or far? Yeah, Ahmed pointed there. Yeah, you, someone far away. Yeah, far. But someone just close.
I will give you the explanation of this. It's all about mind issues. As I said first, we will work less on the slides and more in the minds. It's all about your how can I say, your intended meaning. So you can identify, is it proximal or distal according to the meaning? Yes, so it depends about the situation. It depends all about the context. So its meaning that depends about context. So if the context implies that it's near, so it's proximal.
And also the relationship at the same time.
Yes.
Sometimes emotionally you speak to that person, considering him is part from you, even though he isn't close to you. But sometimes we say we. How is when we say we
The both of us.
and you?
Yes.
We means here we are sharing same thing.
Yes.
But you sometimes we means that we are different in something.
Yes.
I think
That's why it's not exactly means here distance in relation rather
Yes.
than distance.
Yes, psychological distance.
Yes.
Yeah, the same would be use when you talk in messenger or something.
Yes.
We use we, you. If
Yes.
we are okay, fine.
Go.
So unless you're not in it, so it's far, it's not near. Is that what we're agreeing on?
Yeah, yes. I or you we.
Okay, I will give the last ones, which is you here and me and that and before and I and here and then. All of that are called indexicals or didactic elements. The first type, person deixis, when the speaker refers to himself, he uses didactic elements such as I, me, we, or us in the plural. The second one is the speaker's reference to the addressee or the addressees, like you in the singular and you in the plural. And when the speaker refers to other person or entity, like he and him and she and her and it and they and them. The second type, spatial, these deixis, for identifying entities, this, these, and that, and those, informing about locations here and there, and above and below, or acknowledging locations like come and go. How is that we are here using verbs? So how can we put verbs under the term didactic elements? Here, when I said came, Joe came to the room, you can know from your prior knowledge to the language that when I say came to the room, that means that he wasn't in the room and that he is here now. So I'm here acknowledging location through verb. And when I say Dr. Ahmed left the class, so he's not here, he's away. So you can identify the place using verbs. So when we use that, the verbs are didactic elements. Temporal and time deixis. Ahmed, would you please go here to the whiteboard and put those elements, the time elements, with numbers. So today here, for example, would be before or now or after.
Today, now.
Perfect. Put the numbers too.
2.
And go on. Before?
Before,
Yeah.
it's one.
Yes.
This afternoon,
Yes.
after.
No.
Now it's after.
This afternoon.
This after.
It's after.
After this time.
Again,
After this
it
time.
depends on
Context.
context. So you can put it now, you can put it after. Maybe I'm talking about after when I
After this
after the
time.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it depends on the situation. So you can put it here at now.
But when you start, so
Okay.
for example, saying
After.
presentation, you would say, this afternoon I'm going to talk about this effect. So it can be
Yes.
both.
So
Yeah, it can be both.
How can it be now? It's this afternoon and it's now. You're gonna say now. You're not gonna say this afternoon. It's in the future.
Maybe someone
I
wants to
mean,
say
right
this
now it's in the
afternoon.
afternoon. I say we have a class this afternoon. It's now.
Yeah.
You say now.
Now here, I'm not talking about the exact term now itself. I'm not talking about the moment.
So it
I'm
means
talking about the
something
time.
Period of time.
You know, it's a period of time. Yeah, exactly as Mustafa said. So I'm not talking about this exact moment. So saying now, the last now wouldn't be now. Are you on the same page with me? So now I'm not talking now about this exact moment.
Exact time.
I'm talking about a period of time. Yeah, complete.
Okay, yesterday,
Yes.
before,
What number one?
one.
Now?
Now it's now.
Yes. Last year?
Last year, before,
Yes.
one. And tomorrow it's after.
Yes.
Soon, now.
How can soon be now? On NBC2, if I see a film and they say it's coming soon, is it now?
No, after.
Yeah, it's after. So, thank you, Ahmed. Would you clap all of these? So, temporal time laxness can be differentiated according to the period of time, whether it was before,
You
now.
mentioned the example of there's a movie coming, then we say it's coming soon.
Yes.
So there's a movie coming this afternoon.
Yeah, and here we can say it's in the future. So it's coming in the afternoon. You can know it's not now. It's coming in the next period of time or in the afternoon. So reference and inference will be with Ahmed, hoping Ahmed will be yeah, better. So reference and inference, everybody.
Go back to reference. What's reference like? Okay, again we'll deal with the message being sent by the speaker. So reference, so just the definition starts right there, is an act which is speaker or writer. So both, because they're both sending messages for the writer and for the speaker. So the language used by the speaker, the writer, to enable the listener or the receiver to understand, to follow the story, to understand what's going on. So that's reference. Okay, so it works like signposting, to just telling the listener or the reader basically where to go, just to be connected to the speaker. So they work like signposting. And for that to occur like effectively and with like very good talking about reference, we need to look at something called reference expressions. So what do we use to help the receiver? It's going to be maybe the listener or maybe the reader to follow what's going on. So it can be proper noun, for example, Johr, Ahmed, Ana, whatever. Definite and indefinite noun, the man, for example, for pronouns, he, she, you, whatever. So all that sort of kind of expressions we use to help you refer to something. So you need to refer to something so that you can follow the track. I'm giving you things so that you can follow the track. So you follow the track and eventually you get the message, you get to the meaning. Yes.
How can we consider pronouns are as references? We use pronouns in order to refer to something else. But how can they themselves as reference? Pronoun is a word we use instead of another word to refer to something else.
Okay.
How can we consider it as a reference itself?
Okay. I would say, for example, I have an example idea, but to give you this one. The man stopped or parked his car in front of my front door. He then ran over to catch something from the road, from across the road. So he here is a pronoun and referring to the man. Just to help you.
Is it an applied
It is kind of similar to that. Yeah, I'm coming to an application. Yes. Does that answer your question, Mustafa?
This is not
So,
what I mean.
how
I
can
know that we use a pronoun in order to refer to something, but the pronoun itself cannot be a reference. The reference is the man or the something else. This is the reference.
Yeah. I'm talking about expressions here, not talking about the pronouns themselves. So just things, tools we use to help lead you to the reference. Okay. So I'm not talking about the pronouns themselves. Okay.
Expressions.
Yeah. Are we there? Is that okay, Mustafa? Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Brilliant. So we said that I want a reference there. So for that to happen, to occur, we need, or we must have something we call inference. So what's inference?
To imply something.
Implies something. So it's, so it's your knowledge. So it's what you read, what you know. So what you have in your mind here, things, the information you have. So what you have. So your prior knowledge. So what you really have. So for example, I would say maybe the language used by police officers or traffic officers, we can say. So if you see like traffic officers standing by traffic lights and maybe giving some commands or instructions to drivers, they would say, Toyota, please move over. Hyundai, stop on for a moment. For example, the Camry, can you move out of the car? So he's addressing people with the names of cars. But he's not talking to the cars, he's talking to the person behind the wheel. So this one, the listener, in this case the driver behind the wheel, uses his knowledge to understand the policeman is not talking to the car, but they're talking to them. That's inference. Something you have here to use to help you understand what's going on.
Kind of collaboration.
A kind of collaboration, yeah. You need to be cooperative in being in the act, being on the same page. So another example might be, I know start in the morning, you got your father with you, Muhammad, yeah? Can I borrow your father? Got your father with you?
Sorry?
Look in front of you.
Yeah.
Can I borrow your father?
Your father?
He's talking about the book now.
Even me heard that your father.
So when I say to Muhammad, can I borrow your father?
He means my book.
So Muhammad would understand because we share some kind of prior knowledge. Muhammad would know that I'm talking about a book and not something else.
And not any book.
And not any book, this one especially because we know what we're talking about. Okay. To make it exception, yeah. Right. Next one. Attributive, yes. Attributive use and referential use, yes. Consider those three examples, please. A man waiting for you. A woman with lots of money. A 9-foot-tall basketball player. So, if you have this goes with the second example, maybe. Let's say that this example, I want to marry a woman with lots of money. Okay? So what can you understand from the sentence?
Either you are looking for a woman,
Okay.
I don't understand or know who is she you are referring to.
So I am doing something just so I'm doing something we call referential use.
Yeah.
So I'm referring to someone special.
Or you don't have one in mind, so whoever
However, so
has money,
what can I replace with A? I can say any woman. So say any woman.
Exactly any woman.
The
The
reference
woman
to-
has money.
Okay.
A woman who fits the description.
So here the use of attributive is like anonymous, not nominating one especially, but I'm talking in general. Anyone can fit the bill here. with the expression. So it's anonymous. I'm not talking to someone special, but having this properties, yeah. But in my act, if I am referring to someone especially, I would say it's referential use. Is that okay?
You are, in fact, you are usually selecting an adjective when you say waiting for you. All of this can work as an adjective. It limits the kind of a man who I'm talking about.
Yes.
The same with the woman we're talking about. Yes, this is phrasal noun working as an adjective.
Yes, it's more specific.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what governs here the rule of arbitration for referential use? What governs it?
So I'm then the message I'm trying to send, I'm trying to convey. So if I am like emphasizing something, so I would send that in my message. So it maybe, if I said, I want you to recognize more, to draw your attention more to the description of the woman I'm looking for. I'm not especially with the name maybe. I'm not talking about the name.
But here the indefinite article is the key.
Sorry?
The indefinite article here.
Yeah.
Because the reference can be represented by the definite article, the
Indefinite, yes.
the indefinite article, or a
Maybe
pronoun.
pronoun, maybe. Or the noun itself, maybe.
Yes. So here it is, what makes that it's referential reference is by using the article at.
Yes.
Man.
Man, woman, whatever. Okay?
Yes.
You mean,
You're not happy. Okay.
the point that Dr. raised, I mean, the indefinite makes it attributive or referential?
Referential.
French. Because when I say like attributive, I'm saying any woman, the meaning is implied that that's what I
I thought
mean.
it's this opposite. I mean, when
So-
you say to me that the man waiting for you,
I'm talking about specific person. So that's when I'm referring to that man
So it's
specifically.
Yeah.
I'm referring to that man specifically. That's when I say a man. That's the meaning. There is a. The a is an indefinite article using a referring expression. But if you say any, so I don't have to write the word any, but the meaning there is any. Yeah, when you read the sentence, and if not, I am not referring to anyone specifically, the meaning would be any, maybe. Yeah?
use that,
That?
the different type.
Yeah.
Well,
It's the same.
right.
It's the same.
Same.
the same?
Yeah, the
It's
same.
the same, yeah. Because it starts with the referring expressions. Okay, let's try to move on. So the next terminology, the role of co-texts. Now remember, I told you about the definition at the beginning, that we use context to understand meaning. Context helps us understand what the speaker would like to convey, to send. So what's a co-text? What is it? So it's just the extra information, in which the word is there, the environment. So it's like a text that helps explaining a word, maybe. It helps give you information, extra information about that word, especially to understand it. So the context clearly limits our range of possible interpretation because of the situation, the environment, I mean. So consider this example. So if we say Brazil won World Cup. So Brazil is the referring expression here, okay?
Yes.
From that, you would understand from the text that I'm not talking about the whole country. I'm not talking about the whole Brazil, the whole country. I'm talking about specific group. Yeah, group. Just the manager this time is just the national teammate. So the text is helping me limit, the possibilities.
Yes.
The possibilities. You're not lost. The text is helping you, helping you understand what's going on. So just sort of confusion between context and context. Now we understood that the context is in the word in which environment helps you understand the specific word. Gives you something extra to understand what's going on about this thing. But what about context? Okay, so consider the example I used with Muhammad here, maybe. So when I say, can I bow your father? Muhammad would understand that I'm talking about the book.
Yeah.
Okay, but if I use this sentence maybe with my brother who's a car mechanic or the other one who's an electrician, and I told him he wanted to borrow my car in the morning, and I forgot my father in the chair. And I asked him, please put down my father before you leave. He wouldn't understand because I used the word correctly. It is okay in the sentence, but
He doesn't have
the environment is not okay.
The right
He doesn't know what I'm talking about. So what is Varga? But for Muhammad it's different. So for Muhammad, the text is held and explaining more about Varga. But the context is something completely different, and sometimes we mix use and both. So that's we need to use them separately. So I'm giving something extra about the word, something to help you understand it. To explain it more, yes. Okay, next. Got any questions? Or yes? Any questions? Okay. All right. Anaphor preference. So what's anaphor? Okay. This expression used to maintain reference to something someone already mentioned. An example? Man was looking at us. He then disappeared. So he is a non-for reference. So a man is indefinite noun, yeah?
Yes.
And in this case, it's something we call rather antecedent. Antecedent, yes, antecedent. So antecedent is, the initial reference. And he's going to be the anaphora.
It's back.
Yeah, next one. So I'm referring to the man
Yeah.
previously mentioned. Okay, are we doing okay?
Yes.
Brilliant. So this is something we call anaphoric reference or anaphora. Maybe something else here. Yeah. So we can go to this. Something else we can say, something we call zero anaphora. So here we have the man, we refer to the man using the pronoun he. But if I used something we call zero anaphora, which is also ellipsis. Sorry. Sorry, no, don't worry.
Is it removing the anaphora? Saying I saw a man then disappeared?
Sorry?
Is it removing the pronoun he? Like I saw a man?
You'll see.
Okay. We have an example right here. So, just make it much clearer. So, with you now, anaphora is using something already mentioned to refer to. Yeah. So, if there's no reference, nothing to refer to. So, for example, say Hana maybe. Hana washing CBC Sofra. Okay, brilliant. So let's say Hana is doing like. So peel an onion and slice it. Put the slices in hot oil. Okay? Cook for 3 minutes. And that's enough. Okay? So following that, so where's the reference here? When I say peel the onion and slice it. Peel the onion, which is like this, okay? Maybe I could write it down. Peel the onion and slice it, okay? Oopsie. So what is the reference here? I'm talking to
The
yes?
reference.
The onion?
The onion.
Am I referring to the onion?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the onion only. But here, put down to be the onion.
You are talking to.
Where is the person?
Zero.
Not here. That's zero anaphora. It's not here. you. So that's something we call in Arabic ضمير مستتر. Well, he's not there. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is ellipsis. So let's have quickly maybe to the next part. We play with time. I'm sorry to keep you late. Johl and my yeah, pragmatics. Okay, no problem. So Johl says, compiler successful reference means that an intention was recognized via inference, a prior knowledge, indicating a kind of shared knowledge, and hence social connection. If you can remember my example about Varga, so you can remember, yes. And you can get back to right there, yes. Johl. It's a very nice book. If you got some time, please read it. Brilliant information, yes. Johl, yeah. All right. Next. Can you comprehend the reference here? The first sentence. Picasso's on the far wall. What's the reference and what's it referring to?
I think it's a picture. It will be a picture.
So first, where is the reference? Picasso. And it's
Referring to a painting.
referring to a painting.
Painting by Picasso.
Yes. Okay. Second sentence. My Rolex is missing.
A watch.
A watch.
Yeah. So this is the reference here. Rolex, and is referring to the watch. Something.
We know because of the player knowledge.
Because of your prior knowledge. You will understand that I'm not talking about a person or
Knowledge.
some code of whatever. Yeah.
Sometimes called the knowledge of the word.
Yeah.
The word, yes.
And here, the first is reference, and the second part of the sentence is called co-text.
Co-text, yes.
As mentioned.
Something helps you understand what's that, what's from it. Maybe some break from time, whatever. Just to sum up, what's reference? Again, the act by which speaker writer uses language to enable the hearer, the listener, the reader, whatever, to identify something. So that's when I'm referring to something, I'm helping you to understand me as the speaker. And inference, something additional, something you have, your prior knowledge. So we use that to help keep connected. Yeah, the speaker, the listener. So we use your knowledge to help the connection between me and you. Okay. We don't take any questions. Are we clear until now? Brilliant. Next title, Johar, back to you.
Presupposition. We have looked to presupposition earlier with our colleagues semantically. Now let's look about to presupposition story pragmatically. So presupposition is something the speakers use to be the case prior to making utterance. Speakers, and we have to focus about speakers here, not sentences, have presuppositions. So speakers have presuppositions. For example, if someone tells you your brother is waiting outside for you, so you will presuppose that there is an obvious supposition that you have a brother. So if I say this sentence, you will presuppose in your mind that you have a brother, or I have a brother. There are several types of presuppositions. 6 types actually. I saved all the explanation and brought this table. The first one is existential. When I say the X or the book, that means that the X or the book exists. That is the presupposition from that example about the type which is existential. The second type is factive. If I say that I regret leaving, that means, or that presupposes, that I left. Because the feeling of regret cannot happen about something that did not happen. Yes. That third type is non-factive. So if I say he pretended to be happy, and look here to pretended to be happy. Pretended. That means that he wasn't happy because he was pretending. So the key word here is pretending or pretended. That means that he weren't happy. So that's non-factive, against the text. Lexical, using words like managed. So if I say he managed to escape, so this implies that there was he was trying to escape. So he did it. So he tried to escape, from the lexical term managed. The one before the last, structural, when did she die? So it's a question that presupposes that she died. So when I ask, when did she die? That means for sure that she died. And that happens in the mind of the speaker. Counterfactual, if I weren't Arab, that means that I'm Arab. So Ahmed maybe
So
will
what's the
say.
difference between the
Can we go back?
Yes.
Slide.
Here it is.
Yes. Yes. No.
Yes. Here you said that the speaker, not the sentence.
Yes.
But I see that the sentence is telling me about the presupposition. When you say that your brother is waiting outside for you, telling me that your brother, so it means that the sentence, the word brother in the sentence, it's what presupposes that I have a brother.
I will show you the difference when I go to the entailment, and you will look at how they are different, one in the sentence and one in the mind. And how is that in the entailment? When I finish the entailment, if it was not satisfying, you can see it. Okay? We had another question? Yes?
What's the difference between the structure and
Yes, the structural, we here have a question. So according to the question, we can understand that she died. From the question, from the structure of the phrase.
even the last one from the sentence, we can understand that I am
All of them you can understand from the structure. But the key points here, I'm looking for key points, key things that indicates the meaning. Pragmatics is all about concepts. So we might have an opinion and another opinion, and it all depends on your understanding of it. So we are on the same page here.
The last point, sorry.
Yes?
Yes. He
Counterfactual.
managed to escape, and he tried to escape.
Yes.
Are merely repeating the same sentence. Do you want to mean that presupposition, the attempt itself, is a kind of presupposition? The attempt itself?
Yes, the attempt itself, you presuppose that there was an attempt of escaping.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what you will presuppose in your mind.
the previous ones make sense. The feel you can understand something. But the last two ones,
I will look for more examples and I will put them in the Facebook group, inshallah. Let's all listen, please. Yes?
Should we always question?
No, it doesn't matter. Maybe the last one will be exclamation mark, but you will understand from the structure of it that we presuppose something.
Something happened.
Entailment, however, is something that logically follows from what is asserted in the utterance sentences. Not speakers have entailments, so it logically follows, so it must be true. But presupposition, it's not must that it will be true, because it's in your mind. And it is defined with, in the logic, in the field of logic, with this symbol. If you have this symbol, that means that the second sentence is an entailment of the first one. So let's make it more clear with the example. So if I say that Rover chased 3 squirrels, and by the way, the example is from this book, Pragmatics. So Rover chased 3 squirrels. You understand or entail that something chased 3 squirrels. This is a logical entailment. That Rover did something to 3 squirrels, or Rover chased 3 something, or something happened, and you can go on and on and on, entailing something that logically follows. Yes, from only one sentence. Something that logically follows from the first one. So, entailment is necessarily true because it's asserted from the sentence itself, while presupposition is all in the mind. So you can presuppose something, and that something shows up that it might not be true. So it's mostly will be true, but not all of the times. So cooperation in a lecture again with Ahmed. Go on.
Okay, thanks, Matt. So cooperation.
Are you tired?
Yes.
We're about to finish.
Okay.
It's rather fat topics today.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, but I'll try to manage the reason. Okay. This cooperation and Implicature. The other group's not happy, sorry? Okay, it's not happy. Okay, we'll try to do my best, yeah. Cooperation, what is it? Cooperation, yeah, what is it? Just things, elements that work together to help understand the situation and be really, yeah. So it's for both speaker, listener, be in the same page. We both understand each other. We are cooperating. So we're using your knowledge to understand what I want to send to you or want to convey. So that's cooperation. What's Implicature? Anybody?
Seeing inference?
Yeah, so it's implying something. So you don't say that directly, but you use something,
Indirect way.
in indirect way, yes, as we say. So it's a way of communicating without saying something. So I communicate without really saying it. So a good example would be maybe if you tell me right now, maybe doctor would say, Ahmed, can you skip to the conclusion? This might imply that maybe you are exhausted or tired or bored, yeah. Okay, this might be thing. So you're implying something, you don't really say it, but you mean to say it without really saying the words. So you send a message. Yeah, that's pushing around it, yeah, pushing around it. So that's Implicature, that's what you want to send without really saying it. So again, this would be just another terminology, another term. Hedges. What does hedging mean? Hedging is coach's notes about how an utterance should be taken when given information. So what is that? Basically, when I say hedging is like using like a cover or something. You don't want to be in the front line. So you do something just to help you be on the safe side. So basically you're avoiding answering questions or being in contact or taking an action. Examples, okay, come to examples, yes. So with examples, right there. Yes. There's an example. As far as I know, married. So I'm not just to hold you off from asking me questions. As far as I don't want to be responsible. As far as I know, just to be in the safe side.
It seems.
Alright, seems. So next one, maybe another example. I may be mistaken, but I thought I saw a wedding ring on her finger. Again, just keeping a safe corner for me.
You can't show something in another person.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to say it. So next example right there. I'm not sure. Yes. Are you following? You want to say something, guys? Okay. You want to say something?
Especially when you say something or write something in your research project, try to use this type of strategy. I think it would be, don't say I will, or this research will find solution. With something that you escape
from responsibility.
Yes.
Is it even can be more polite when you post someone's opinion? You say, I think you did the same thing. I guess.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Or in my opinion.
Okay, yes.
Something else I would say here, we're talking about quality. The doctor said when you write something, so this would give something extra to your quality of writing. The quality is higher. So we're not saying that this is my opinion and you have to follow it. So you can do so if you want. So the quality rises when you use hedging in your writing. Also when you're speaking as well. So hedging can be at the beginning, at the end, maybe. Last example, he couldn't live without her, I guess. So I'm not saying this is my, okay, I guess.
That's why
Okay. Next example. Hedging of quantity. Quantity, as you probably know, I'm terrified of bugs. So it's about how much you know. The quantity. Another example maybe. So, to cut a long story short, we grabbed those stuff and ran. I think, so depending on how, okay, how much you know. An example maybe, I want Polly with all the 10 days, but it was an exciting trip. So I would imply, I would assume that maybe you know, on such a trip, you would know all the details. You would like not to give extra unnecessary information and bother you for all time. Oh, good. Okay. Next, hedging of relevance. Okay, hedging of relevance. It's something like istidrad in Arabic. So I don't know if this is an important part. I'm pulling you back to be relevant, okay? Let's go back to business here. Another example. This may sound like a dumb question, but again, I'm pulling you back to be relevant. Another example. Not to change the subject, again, but brings you back. Last example. Oh, by the way, or anyway, all of these things are kind of relevance hedging. You need to bring it back. Sorry? I think it's istidrad in Arabic, I think. Istidrad. When you go off rocket a little bit, then you go back. Just off rocket we say. Off rocket means
away from the topic.
Away from the topic, yeah, away from the topic. A little bit, but then bringing you back. Yeah, you see, short note or something about another subject, then you go back to the same subject. Say something there? Yeah. You okay?
It's just additional information that, by the way, I think it's the thing that you use to derive from the subject, not go back. When you're talking about like English and they say, oh, by the way, did you see the game last week?
It's not about getting back to the subject. It's about getting back or getting away from the subject. So using hedging, yes, it's to make it relevant or to make it not relevant. To indicate the relevance level.
Okay.
So we can use it for both.
Yes, indeed. I'll give you the last example here. Hedging of manner. So manner. Okay. So manner basically is about being polite. It's about being polite and talking to people. So this may be a bit confused. This is confusing, okay, but I will say. This may be a bit confusing, but so and so. Just I'm being polite. Okay. So I'm not sure if this makes sense, but hedging, just use something to get back and be polite. I don't know if this is clear at all, but so and so. Okay, an example from Yule. Incorporate the principle. So we said it is, between the speaker and the listener. Is the listener cooperating? The listener is not cooperating. Please have a look on the example. A man talking to a woman. He says, "Does your dog bite?" And the woman says, "No." The man reaches down and bets the dog. The dog bites the man's hand. "Oh, Che, you said your dog doesn't bite." The woman replies again, "He doesn't, but that's not my dog." Okay. So here, the woman is not cooperating. Maybe she doesn't want to, she doesn't want to communicate with that person. Maybe she doesn't like that person, doesn't want to. That's on purpose, people don't want to. Yeah, all of that can imply.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be cooperating.
What that can imply. And just this, I'll finish with the. Yes, Hannah, you okay? Okay.
Just assuring that you are making sense.
Okay, this make the last example.
Okay.
And I'll ask permission from Doctor to say that in Arabic. Is that okay? Yes. Okay. أبو علقمة النحوي كان رجلا مختصا بالنحو إلى حد كبير. شروحاته بلغت الدنيا في ذاك العصر. وكان يتحدث بشكل يجعز الناس المحيطين به. من ضمنهم زوجته. ففي ذات الأيام استيقظ في الثلث الأخير من الليل. Okay? وسأل زوجته أصقعت العتاريف. Again, he said أصقعت العتاريف. This is really strong Arabic language. Something we call official. It's more than formal.
Yeah, frozen.
Frozen, yeah. So he said أصقعت العتاريف. His wife نظرت إليه زوجته وقالت منتعضة طبعا سقطنبم زقفيلا فنظر متعجبا ما هذا يا امرأة إنما أردت أصاحت الديكة هل صاحت الديكة فردت عليه وقالت وأنا أردت لم تصح. Okay, so here she's not cooperating because she didn't like the way her husband is using the language. So the contest, the listener, the speaker are not on the same page because the listener doesn't want to communicate with the speaker.
Ties are cut between them.
And that's the end of my part. Back to Johr.
So speech acts and events. So actions performed by utterances are called speech acts. In English, they are commonly called apology, compliment, complaint, implication, promise, or request, and imply the speaker's communicative intention. So you can know the intention of the speaker from the speech act and the speech event. The circumstances surrounding the utterance are called speech events, and it's their nature that determines the interpretation of an utterance as performing a particular speech act. So let's give an example here.
Would you like to come with coffee?
Put this sound effect.
Alright,
Very good.
You, here, I want you all to close your eyes. All to close your eyes. Even you, Dr. Ahmed, close your eyes. Okay, close your eyes. No. Imagine with me a very wintry day. It's so cold. It's frozen outside. Now open your eyes. Ahmed here will give me an invitation.
Would you like a cup of coffee? There you go, sorry.
It's very cold. Goodness me. So, here on the winter situation, when I'm given a cup of coffee or tea, and it's cold, I will say that it's very cold. Complaining, yes. So the force here, or the performative verb, will indicate that I'm complaining. Now let's look at another example. If the situation and the speech event is different. So it's early morning, and we're in a very hot summer here in Misrata, for example, and it's very hot here, and we have the same situation.
Would you like a cup of coffee? What do you think? Like, okay, coffee.
Okay. Oh, it's very cold. So it's iced coffee here. So it's the same coffee. The same way of inviting you. But the speech event is different. So that performative force here is it's compliment, not complaint. So the tea is really cold, the utterance can be interpreted as complaint or praise, depending on the circumstances, if it's winter or summer, cold or hot day. So the action performed by producing utterance will consist of three related acts. Those are from Varga. The locutionary act, that means in speaking act. Locutionary means speaking. The basic act of utterance which produces a meaningful linguistic expression. Mahmoud, yes. He didn't understand, he only answered with yes. But he was correct, by the way. Because means would you like some coffee in Swahili language in Western Africa. So, in order for you to be meaningful, you have to produce a meaningful utterance, and that's called locutionary act. The second one is illocutionary act. That means the words derived from inlocution. Inlocutionary, in speaking. So it's the communicative force of utterance. We form utterance with some kind of function in mind. So it's an offer or statement or promise or a threat. So we will sum up after illocutionary act, which is the effect of the act. I'll see you later here will not do the exercise. I'll see you later can be a promise, can be threatened or something else. Politeness, we will talk about it in another time. To sum it all up, so we have talked about a lot of terminology, a lot of interesting things that we hope that you will go and read more about, especially the maxims of manner, relevance, and so on, and using hedging because it's very important. Thanks for listening. The resources are not SpongeBob, of course. They are Varga and Yule. Those two books are very beneficial in this topic. And sorry for being late, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Yes, very interesting effort has been made for this one. Yes, thank you very much.